It is 6:30 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. Please stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In my capacity of mayor of the city of Winona, together with the interim city manager and city attorney, we have jointly determined that it would not be practical or prudent to conduct tonight's meeting of the city council entirely in person due to the ongoing COVID-19 health pandemic and its potential to impact individuals who need to be involved in this meeting in order for the council to complete its business tonight. Therefore, under Minnesota statute section 13D.021, subdivision 1, subparagraph 1, we will be allowing council members and other individuals needed to be in attendance to attend remotely through the Zoom video link. The meeting link has been distributed to all council members and individuals expected to be in attendance this evening, including the news media and otherwise noticed. The meeting link was also posted on the city's website. Council members attending this meeting via Zoom are considered present at this meeting for purposes of determining a quorum and participating in all proceedings. All votes shall be conducted by roll call. This evening, I have just one comment, and the Winona Arts and Culture Plan is nearing completion. The draft plan will be available on the city's website for public comment from January 24th until February 7th. Please take time to review and comment on the plan. Our consultants from the Cultural Planning Group will be in attendance to present the plan to City Council on February 22nd. Oh, and I don't have my script here. So we will now vote, take attendance by roll call.
Mayor Scott Sherman.
Here.
Steve Young.
Here.
Councilman Moeller.
Here.
Alexander.
Here.
Biden.
Here.
Wojciechowski.
Here.
Rapinski.
Present.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is the Anthem Skate Park report by Mr. Zach Craig.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. So I'll start with our financial report. Last year, we had $53,191.92 in sales, slightly up from the year before. Our activity report, COVID has had a negative impact in our attendance and programming, but things are currently changing for the better. Just some numbers from 2019, our pre-COVID attendance was 1,530 participants, a variety of skateboarders, scooters, BMX, inline skates, a variety of people use our facility. And then in 2020, during COVID, we went from 1,530 down to 475 participants, and down from 231 new waivers signed that year down to 95. But luckily in 2021, we are now up to 714 participants. Actually, this was made a little bit ago. We're closer to the 900 number now, and 194 new waiver signs. So luckily we are back on the upswing. And due to the occupancy restrictions, we were unable to host our 3 annual skate contests, and we had to halt our summer camps. We were able to continue lessons and small group skate sessions of up to 10 people at a time. Future plans, we are hopeful that we will be able to organize events and competitions like we did pre-COVID, and that really is one of the greatest things about the location is that we get to host programming like competitions, demonstrations, camps, clubs. We're really looking forward to getting that back up and running. And we, like, we are currently fundraising for a new outdoor skate park and skate plaza that will be free to the public. Some other highlights are the COVID restrictions have been mostly lifted. Our attendance numbers are back up. We've had no major injuries, shoplifting, or unlike at the previous park, no major incidents requiring intervention from staff and law enforcement. And Anthem continues to be a safe environment where community members can come together and share over their shared interest of skateboarding, BMX, and scootering. And working with the city has continued to be a positive experience. And in the last month, we partnered with Riverway Learning Community, and we started up a after-school skate club, kind of the first group thing we've done since the shutdown that's been really positive. A group of 8th, 6th through 10th graders that come every Tuesday. We've coordinated transportation with the school, and that's been a really positive experience. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a question. How's your fundraising coming on the new project?
Fundraising has been good. We've raised, we've only been going out with just individual donors at this point and have raised about $11,000, and that's helped us get our 3D renderings and our plans through Hunger Skate Parks. And we're really looking forward to presenting that to the council.
What is your goal, and how can people contribute?
There's 4 different phases. Our ultimate dream goal is just over $400,000, but we would have a phase 1 goal of $225,000. And we have a GoFundMe, Anthem. It's not Anthem, so it's separate from Anthem. It's the Winona Community Plaza is what the GoFundMe is.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting. We formed a committee, and we're going to be starting a capital campaign after we present to the city next month.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to congratulate you on in what would be difficult circumstances for any business that somehow you maintain to stay open and provide the service to the community that I know is well loved. I have a nephew who just loves skateboarding, and so he loves that location. So it's a challenge to keep anything going, especially when there's restrictions. So thank you for sticking with it and making sure that that West End location is still active and is now coming back stronger as we make it through the COVID crisis. It'll be nice to see it take off and get that outdoor park built and maybe have some more growth for you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Pam or Eileen, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I've had the pleasure of spending some time in the skate shop. Not that I am a skateboarder, but I live just a block away, and I think it's a real asset to our neighborhood. It's nice to have a place where families can go, where kids can go. And I think what Zach and his staff are all working on is really fantastic. And I really, really want to see that plaza get built. It would be a real gem for that neighborhood.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
George.
Yeah, Zach, good report and good luck to you and as you go forward. And it's good to see you taking charge of that. And as always, say hello to Jerry.
Absolutely.
All righty. Thank you, Zach.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate the report. Thank you.
Moving on to item 3.2 is the Winona Area Youth Hockey Association report.
And tonight we have Brian Lingen here from the Winona Area Youth Hockey Association. Greetings, Brian.
Hello, good to see you all. So just a couple of quick things I wanted to highlight about the program. I thought I'd start with some numbers for this year. Our registration was up almost 10% this year, which is really great. We had 202 youth participating in Winona Area Youth Hockey Association this year. Just to go through a few of those numbers, Learn to Skate, which is 4 to 5 to 6 year olds, we had 38 participants, up from 32 last year. Mini mites, which would be 5 or 6 year olds, was 23, up from 18. Mites had 27 from 29. Our 10U girls team had 12, and they had 12 last year. Our squirt group, which is 4th and 5th graders, had 37 last year and 38 this year. Our 12U girls team had 10 versus 16 last year. Our peewees had 25 this year versus 26 last year. And our bantams, which is high school, 7th and 8th and 9th graders, had 28, 29 versus 18 last year. So most every single level either had equal to or more kids participating, which we think is really great. Couple highlights, I think, we talk about this a lot in the association, but we're really excited about all of the hockey opportunities that are available in Winona right now. We've been talking about a lot this year. Our kids have been on the ice more in the last 12 months than they've been in a long time. We've had great participation from the high school coaches and programs, from St. Mary's University in the fall. In the spring, the high school coaches were running clinics for the kids. St. Mary's did a day camp that ran 3 days a week from 8 to noon every day for our youth. And that's really, I think, helped bolster our numbers for the association. So just a lot of great things going on for Winona Area Youth Hockey Association.
Thanks, Brian. Any questions of Brian or comments? George?
Yeah, just to comment, very good job with that. And I know a lot of good hockey players today, they're in high school or maybe they're early into college. They started in that Bud King Ice Arena is where they started. So, and that's a good flavor in itself. So good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Michelle?
I'm just gonna mirror what I said to Zach. I think any organization that can continue and see some growth after coming through COVID is kind of phenomenal. I know that programming like that is an asset to the community and is well loved by the kids that do it. And I just have to say personally, those names are maybe my favorite part of tonight so far. Mini mites, that's amazing. So thank you for bringing the report and for continuing to do what you do there.
Yeah, for sure.
Pam or Eileen, do you have anything?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 3.3, the updated ordinance for a no parking bus stop and handicap parking on Main Street.
Make a motion to introduce the attached ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion from Michelle, a second from Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Hi.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye. Passes.
Item 3.4 is the extension of the Wesley United Methodist Church parking lots lease.
Make a motion to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Second that.
We have a motion from Michelle. I'll take the second from Pam. Any discussion? George?
Now, this parking lot, now that's used for the Senior Friendship Center and the library? Or two?
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I have a question. A month or so ago, I had a constituent call saying that his renters their cars were now being ticketed in that lot and they hadn't been ticketed ever before. So there'd been a change of staffing in the police department. But it really brought out a possibility of perhaps the city would like to rent those places out to local landlords so that their people can park there legally. This is just an idea. I brought it up before to staff members, but I'd like to see the city consider that.
Thank you, Pam. Brian, do you know, are those lots used primarily on Sundays or Saturdays or whenever Wesley holds their?
We don't actually rent them on Sundays. That's excluded from the lease.
Okay,
It's a Monday through Saturday.
Gotcha,
so
gotcha. Okay,
Possibly the people were told on Sundays. I don't know the details of Pam's question.
sure.
But if that's the case, they wouldn't have the right to park there. But it's technically open for all public parking,
Yep.
just like any of our other public lots. So
Okay,
that's no different.
okay.
Okay, Brian, I'll come and talk to you about this privately, but these people live there and so they leave their cars overnight and then get caught by the parking rule. So we'd just like to see if we can work it all out harmoniously.
Sure. Pam, do you know the buildings where the renters are using the public lots? Do they have parking available to them in the rentals? Did that come up?
Yeah, they do, as I recall, but it's limited. So there's always more cars than there are spaces.
Sure. And then probably consistency is part of the issue there as well. So,
Right.
okay. Thank you, Pam. George?
Yeah, I think Pam raises a good question. Can we legally rent parking stalls out? Have we done that before? You know, like downtown, all the apartments, they all park in those lots there.
Not that I'm aware of. This is a private parking lot that we lease. I mean, if Wesley wanted to not lease it to us and talk to the landlords, I guess that'd be between the landlords and Wesley, but for public parking, I mean, that'd be no different than designating a spot on the street for George Borzakowski. We can't do that.
Sorry, George.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other?
Thank you.
Michelle,
I was
please.
gonna say, I'm pretty sure some of the downtown tenants would love it if we would rent spaces to them, but I already know that we don't do that. But I agree that they would be happy to pay an amount to rent those spaces, but who would get them?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye. Motion passes.
Moving on to new business, item 5.1 is the pay equity implementation report.
I'd make a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Michelle, a second from George. Any discussion? George?
Can anyone explain this just a little more in depth? Deb?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pay equity is a method of eliminating discrimination against women who are paid less than men for jobs requiring comparable levels of expertise. This goes beyond the familiar idea of equal pay for equal work, where men and women with the same jobs must be paid equally. The pay for each job classification in the city is based on job points. We use a third-party consultant to calculate job points based on the level of knowledge, technical skills, and responsibility required to do each job. The purpose of the state pay equity compliance report is to ensure that salary adjustments will be made if it is discovered that women are consistently paid less than men for jobs with similar points. For the purposes of the 2021 compliance report, I would direct you to section 2A. The underpayment ratio must be greater than 80% to be in compliance, and the city exceeds the requirement with a ratio, with a ratio of 136.76%. So we are well above compliance.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Pam or Eileen?
Oh, I just thank you, Deb, for pointing out in words what I could read on the page myself, but I didn't understand it that way. So it sounds good for the city of Winona.
Thank you, Pam. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye. Motion passes.
Item 5.2 is an agreement with WSU Nursing and Health Science Programs.
I'd make a motion, direct the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion from Michelle, a second from Eileen. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Worzikowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item 5.3 is the city manager appointment options.
Tonight we have essentially 6 options that have been presented to us. I'm going to read these off and you'll have a better idea of what the council has been looking at in terms of the options in terms of replacing and or appointing a city manager. Number 1, offer Mr. Ubel the appointment as city manager. Number 2 would be to establish a process to assess the qualifications of Mr. Ubel. Number 3, open the city manager position internally for interested candidates to apply. Number 4, open the city manager position internally and externally for interested candidates to apply. Number 5, retain third-party consultant to coordinate a city manager selection process. And lastly, number 6, assign individuals on an ad hoc basis to administer city manager selection process.
Mayor,
Go ahead, George.
I would like to make a motion for option number 2. And I would like to make that motion that the Winona City Council and the Winona City Administration conduct an in-depth interview and review of the interim manager, Chad Ubel's qualifications and suitability for the position of city manager. If the results are favorable, I would then ask that we offer Mr. Ubel the position. If the results are not acceptable or not favorable, that we could then begin an open search.
I would second that. We have a motion from George. We'll take a second from Michelle. So just to clarify here, number 2 would be to assess establish a process to assess the qualifications of Mr. Ubel.
Correct.
And if they are favorable, to move to number 1, offer Mr. Ubel the appointment of city manager.
Yes.
And if they are not favorable, retain a third-party consultant to coordinate a city manager selection process. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any comments or discussion from council?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Pam.
What is the process? So we're to establish a process to assess the qualifications. Perhaps, George, you have some ideas about what that process is and who is to manage it?
Yes, Pam, what I would recommend is that we do an in-depth interview with Mr. Ubel to review his qualifications and his suitability for the job. We would do that as a city council and involve city administration in that as well. The process would be the interview.
Does that answer your question, Pam?
Yes, so you're talking about just one interview. I know, we all know Mr. Ubel, so, and we're familiar with his work, but you're talking about just one interview?
Yes. And if we see a need for another one, we certainly could do another one.
Michelle?
George, may I amend the motion then to suggest that Pam and yourself will be familiar with this, that we do a one-on-one interview like we did at the last time we hired a manager, where each of us gets to have a time to discuss anything with him that we would like. And then we go also have him apply, and then also move to that review process where we ask the management team and the council to fill out the review packets, and then we can sit down and have an in-depth discussion about his qualifications.
That would be in the process as well too, if that's what you would like, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood what you meant by interview and review.
So
Eileen, did you have something? I'm sorry, Pam, go ahead.
I just wanted to comment. Thank you, Michelle. I think that would be a much more suitable process to go through.
Thank you, Pam. Eileen, did you have something?
Yes, I'm in favor of choice number 4, or at the very least number 3. I think that when there's a position open, that there should be an opportunity for folks to apply for it. I certainly think Chad is doing a wonderful job, and I don't have any doubt that he would emerge as probably a top, if not the top candidate. But I think that to me, I've said this since we started through this process, that I think the most democratic and reasonable thing is to open the job up officially for other people to potentially apply, and then look at all the candidates. Again, I don't have any doubt Chad would come out on top, but I think that there needs to at least be the opportunity for other people to apply. So if the way that the motion stands, I would vote against it.
Thank you, Eileen. Any other comments or discussion?
I'm going to make another comment. I think this does need to be discussed quite a bit. I wouldn't want to short circuit this whole process. When we hired Steve Sarvey, it was a very in-depth procedure, and we did invite people to come and meet with us. I think that was a 2-day process. And I learned a lot from that. And I would like to take the present situation just as seriously. Survey the field might be a very good idea, Eileen. Yes, I can see that would be an advantage, not just for us, but for whoever gets the job. I think the city is up for increasingly complicated situations. The world is becoming more complex, and we need to step carefully through this process.
Thank you, Pam. I will state personally, this has been a long and ongoing point of discussion that I've had with many members of the community. I've talked with staff, I've talked with Chad. I think regardless of what option we end up deciding on this evening, it's a difficult one. There are factors in terms of cost if we do an external search. There are potential factors of morale within city staff. I think there are potential factors of, maybe missing the boat on someone that could be phenomenal. I think anytime we have a loss and or a staff member moving on, I think we always need to look at that as an opportunity to try and replace that specific position with someone that could be better. And I'm not going to go into whether Mr. Ubel fits that bill, but I do know that this is something that I have looked at basically from every single angle possible to try and determine what would be best for the city. This is an important position. I would argue that it's potentially the most important position in city staff. Ultimately, they are the CEO of the city, and we are the board that essentially determines who that CEO is going to be. And so I do not take any of these decisions lightly, and I have had many, many discussions with people regarding the process. And I've taken, probably about 100 opinions on this from people. So in that regard, I do not take this lightly. I think it's something that we really need to make sure that we're vetting out the entire process thoroughly. So I am okay with George's proposal of the motion. And that's how I'm going to vote this evening. Steve,
Mr. Mayor, could I just get clarification? I'm bringing up a list there of these options. So it seems that the motion, I want to make sure I understand that we are establishing, if the motion that's presented to us, if we adopt it, that we're establishing an order of those 3 of the 6 items One was item number 2. And then could we have that read to us back so I
Yes.
understand? I'm trying to wrap.
Don't have it.
Again?
Okay, he has it.
Yep. So, George, and correct me if I'm off base here, but, George motioned to establish a process to assess the qualifications of Mr. Ubel.
Saying that
That would be number 2.
okay. And that's our first order of business
Yep.
in this motion. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then if conditions are favorable for Mr. Ubel, we would move to number 1 and offer Mr. Ubel the appointment as city manager.
Gotcha.
So if yes, 1, kind of a programmer type thing here. If no, then we would move to number 5, retain third-party consultant to coordinate a city manager selection process. So that would essentially, we would be footing the bill for an external headhunter to come in and establish the next city manager interview process for us. So number 2, if yes, number 1, if no, number 5.
Knowing that we've established this, I've got a comfort level here that we've got a plan of where we can go. We're allowing ourselves to have options, and we've got a process that we're going to adopt. And if things work out, we know where we'll land, and if they don't, we can widen the search. So I'm comfortable with the motion on the floor.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments or discussion? Pam or Eileen?
Yes, I have just another comment, please. I'm uncomfortable with the idea that this is a budget option. Okay, we do have a budget, of course, we always have had, but I don't want to put the city manager position in that role of like making up for the budget. I don't want to shortchange that position or the person that gets it or the process by which that person is hired. And the conversation here tonight has made me a little uneasy that we're just cutting to the chase for budget reasons. I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay,
Mayor,
go ahead, Michelle.
I just want to clarify, Pam, that was in no way why I seconded this option. I can't speak for George why he made the option, but financial consideration was not a part of my second or I'm assuming George's motion. He's nodding no. I don't know about Steve or Aaron, but I think all the mayor was saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that it was one of many things that he looked at when trying to decide what to do, not the overriding reason why he's doing it. And it certainly played no part in my decision at all.
I would agree with Councilwoman Alexander.
I too
would agree with council.
And I'll clarify.
I don't know where
Pam,
that came from.
That was just one of the things that I took into consideration. I mean, there are, I think if you really stand back and you look at it, there are everything. I mean, literally there's like 6, 7 different things that we have to consider. We have to consider employee morale within the city. We have to consider Mr. Ubel's experience with the city. We have to consider morale within the city, staff, continuity. I would say, just from a personal aspect, the cost factor for an external search is probably the smallest, probably the lowest on my priority list in terms of moving forward with one decision or another. I do value the staff that we have. I think it's important that, and these are my own personal opinions, but I do believe that it is important that we listen to staff as well. And we don't just make, at least for me, I'm not making this decision based on my own personal experiences with Mr. Ubel and or other staff members. I am ultimately trying to put all of those variables into a constant so that we can make the best decision moving forward. And regardless if it costs us 20 grand or 30 grand to do an external search, that is probably the lowest on my priority list in terms of, what would keep me from moving forward with one of the options that eliminated an external search or a paid search. And again, I'm speaking for myself, and this is part of the decision-making process that I've worked through essentially since October. So I've had many months to work through this in my head. And I still don't have the ultimate answer. And that's why I'm glad that we have a council that will be able to work together on this, regardless if we agree or not. It is a democratic process. It is the process that's built into the city charter, and specifically in regards to the city manager. That's all I got to say about it.
Oh, yeah, Mayor, I have a question again.
Please. Please.
Yes. So I believe we said if we were not completely satisfied with the interview, we would go to number 5 and retain a third-party consultant to coordinate the selection process. Would we have to do that? Could we go to number 4, just an external and internal recruitment?
I think we would need an amendment to the motion.
Would the council members consider that?
George?
I'd say we're starting with option 2, and it's, it simply states that if the results are not acceptable, we can then begin a search. I think all the options below that, I think, are available to us. So it just states with the motion that if the results are not acceptable, then we should begin an open search, and how we can do it. I don't think we have to pinpoint down to this one or that one, whatever. They're all open to us.
Okay, how about we do this? Could we potentially amend the motion to say number 2, if yes, number 1, if no, then either 3, 4, 5, or 6?
I'm okay with that. I'm fine. I misunderstood. I thought you said we were going to 5, which is, I would be more in favor of that than us trying to do the search ourselves. But I am fine with leaving it open-ended, that the council can come back and later again decide what option they want to take. So I'm fine with that amendment.
Yeah, we have 5 other options we can look at, so.
Pam, would you be all right with that?
That's good. Thank you. Yes.
Could you restate what that would be?
Yep, so number 2, which would be establish a process to assess the qualifications of Mr. Ubel. If that is favorable, we will move to number 1, which is offer Mr. Ubel the appointment as city manager. If no, then all of the latter options, number 3, 4, 5, and 6, would be on the table, and I would assume we would bring it back for a vote to council again.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay,
Mayor, can I call for the question?
you may.
I'd like to call for the question. Let's vote.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
No.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
May I add a motion here that's not on the agenda for consideration of the council? I'd make a motion that we review the job description for the city manager and bring it back at the next meeting if there are any concerns or updates we want to make before we would consider making an offer to Mr. Ubel or other, so that it's the most up to date that we can have. There may be things that need to be changed from the last 6 years.
So essentially a review of the contract with
The
city
job
manager.
description, just the job description, just
Okay.
to make sure everyone on council is comfortable with what is stated in there for the managers, their qualifications and what we expect from them, so that we all as a council have reviewed and agreed that that form is up to date. And if we need to modify it, it can be brought back for approval by the council as a whole, either at the next meeting or the following February meeting. That's my motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
we have a second. We have a motion from Michelle, a second from George. Any discussion on that specific motion?
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Pam. Eileen, anything on that? I want to get our Zoom participants involved if possible. No, Eileen? Okay,
No, I don't have anything to say. I think that's fine.
thank you.
Good.
Steve?
Good.
Okay. All right. We will vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young.
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on to item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with Councilmember Borzakowski.
Believe it or not, I have nothing.
And there's no football game to get to.
And there's no football.
Jeez Louise. All right. Thank you, George. Councilmember Alexander.
I have nothing tonight.
Councilmember Moeller.
I believe today, the U.S. government made available at-home COVID tests that you can order. I ordered some through the Postal Service website. So please take advantage of that program if you can. I know right now our hospitals and testing centers are swamped. I tested positive for COVID last week, and so I'm not there with you today to cough all over all of you. And the hospital is limiting tests, and the mall testing center is taking several days. So if you can get at-home tests, highly recommend it, so that if you are sick, you can stay away from people.
Thank you for mentioning that, Eileen. Do you remember the website off the top of your head? It was like covidtest.gov.
I'm sure if you Google, if you Googled COVID,
Yeah.
post,
Michelle's digging right
it
now.
was through the Postal Service website that I ordered some. And I just had to put in my name and address. It was very simple. So, and you are signed up for 4 tests, I believe. So.
And our city just sent out to all of us today, the COVID, all caps, test.gov. You can get your free test, covidtest.gov.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for that, Eileen.
And there are still lots of vaccines and boosters available, so they're free.
Get on out there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Take care, Eileen.
Councilmember Iden.
Yes, following right up on that, I would very much like the mayor and like the city to consider reinvoking the mask mandate for our town, given that Minneapolis, Rochester, today Milwaukee, St. Paul, University of La Crosse, all kinds of other places are stepping up to try and put this down, this virus down, and that will not be put down as long as people are running around spreading it on each other, not wearing masks. There's only a few places in town I go that I see that people are really wearing masks, and I think that we would have an immediate impact on our sickness level if we did have a mask mandate. So please consider.
Thank you, Pam. I will mention that a lot of those other cities are strong mayoral systems where they have the ability to enforce that beyond 72 hours. So I will publicly state if certain council members that voted against it were to come to me with the desire to move forward on a mask mandate and or Chamber of Commerce and or some of the business leaders in our community, I would seriously consider it again. So thank you for that, Pam. Anything else this evening?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Young.
I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember Rapinski.
I'm fine, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Aaron.
And moving on to the consent agenda, there are 5 items. The approval of the minutes from January 3rd, the adoption of an ordinance to annex property at 22170 Pinecrest Road, and 3 claims.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Michelle. All those in favor will vote by roll call. Sorry about that. All those in favor, please vote by roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
and Rapinski.
Aye.
Mayor, I move I don't. Michelle does
Listen
that.
here, George. I'm gone one day and you just try to take over. The time being 7:14 and there being no further business to come before this council this evening, I move we adjourn.
I will second that.
By
Seriously.
roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Aye.
Councilman Young,
Aye.
Moeller,
Aye.
Alexander,
Aye.
Iden,
Aye.
Borzakowski,
Aye.
Rapinski.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening.